In 1986, Charles and Jimmy grew close. The Times claims that the two exchanged messages for 20 years, from 1986 to 2006. With the release of a new video describing Jimmy Savile's relationship with the royal family, it has become clear how closely related King Charles and his family were to the man who was exposed as a paedophile in 2011. The expose was from a Netflix documentary titled Jimmy Savile, A British Horror Story, which includes multiple memos and personal letters that demonstrate his closeness to the royal firm. Keep watching as we unveil the relationship between King Charles and Jimmy Savile. Hundreds of people, mostly female and some as elderly as 75, were allegedly sexually molested by Jimmy Savile, a cultural figure in the UK who passed away in 2011. Most of those victims were believed to have been female and minors. He was well known in the UK for his quirky personality and was well liked for his philanthropic efforts, which connected him to British royalty and other powerful people. In a Mark Williams Thomas produced ITV documentary that aired on October 3, 2012, numerous women claimed that Savile had sexually assaulted them while they were minors. By October the 11th, complaints against Savile had been brought to the attention of 13 police departments, and as a result, inquiries into Savile's business dealings with the BBC and the National Health Service were launched. It included 214 claimed activities by Savile that, however unsubstantiated, have been properly documented as crimes. Some of these alleged acts allegedly involved children as young as 8. The report states that among the crimes that have been reported, there are 126 indecent acts and 34 rape or penetration offences. The study claims that in addition to BBC property, alleged violations also took place at 13 hospitals. Savile frequently interacted with his victims as a result of his imaginative work for the BBC and his altruistic efforts for the NHS. Working with children and young people, including visiting hospitals and schools, was an important aspect of his career and public life. Although the accusations were made while he was still alive, they were ignored or covered up because, as we all know, predators are supported and protected by other influential people and organisations, including the Royal Institution, as Jimmy Savile's connections to individuals at the top echelons of British society, including Prince Charles, the future monarch of England, during his lifetime, made him invulnerable. Savile, who received a knighthood from the Queen, had connections to several influential figures, including Margaret Thatcher, as a result of his well-known charitable work and fruitful broadcasting career. Savile asserted he was in palaces regularly in a memo written to the royals in 1989 and headlined Guidelines for Members of the Royal Family and Their Staff. Savile claimed on a page named Personal Observations that because of his access to the royal family homes, he was well placed to observe and remark on their public image. Savile wrote, "Since I frequently visit Buckingham Palace and St James's Palace, one thing is starting to become very obvious. There is currently a significant push against some members of the royal family and their staff. If you want to be part of our family, quickly subscribe to our channel and turn on your notification bell so we can keep spilling the royal tea." Charles sought to connect with and be liked by the young people who would be his future subjects. He might have thought that getting it would be easier if he was associated with Savile. As the future King Charles increasingly turned to his friend Jimmy for assistance on how to deal with the outside world that he and his family were shielded from, Savile, in effect, became a royal advisor. A note received by the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh reportedly contained some of the informal media relations manuals the prolific sex offender had written for himself. When Savile first appeared at Buckingham Palace in 1972 with his mother Agnes to get his OBE from the Queen Mother for services to charity, it is thought he was probably looking for a means to enter the royal family. It wasn't hard to accomplish. Savile's entrance into the royal circle was facilitated by an unexpected character reference from Charles's favourite uncle, Lord Louis Mountbatten, who had known Savile since the 1960s. The Prince and Savile became closer because of their shared ties to the Buckinghamshire Hospital, Stoke Mandeville. Charles requested Savile for assistance on April 16, 1990, with a speech he was scheduled to give at London's Guildhall because he was so good at understanding what makes people operate, and Savile was sceptical and practical. Please review this text and let me know how you believe we may best appeal to different people, as Charles kindly requested in his letter. He sent Savile another email on July 4th to express his gratitude for helping him get ready for his Guildhall speech. It was incredibly thoughtful of you to take the time to compile those wonderful remarks and give me a lot to think about, he wrote. What matters is if you believe the outcome to be worthwhile in any manner. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude, Charles. King Charles had rekindled his relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles during the years when the Prince and Princess of Wales were growing apart and Diana had started dating James Hewitt, both of whom remained close to Savile. Years after being hired for marriage counselling, royal press advisor Dickie Arbiter told the Sunday Times that Savile had been hired by an aide to improve the state of the union, but it had failed. A suggestion initially made in the so-called Squidgygate audio is confirmed by the revelation in the Netflix series that Charles wrote to Savile to beg him to counsel Fergie on how to avoid damaging publicity. Just a few days after Jimmy Savile's passing in 2011, the first draft of an inquiry into him that aimed to reveal him as a paedophile was completed. The introduction read that Prince Charles led the tribute to a national treasure when Jimmy Savile passed away in October. Charles was essential to Savile's reputation. It was not by accident that Savile had grown to be a beloved friend of the famous and powerful, including the Prince of Wales and Margaret Thatcher, who reportedly pushed for a knighthood for him and invited him to spend Christmas at Chequers. Over time, he had purposefully integrated himself into those powerful networks and used his influence to bring about his security. What neighbourhood police officer would believe a 14-year-old girl who alleged she was being sexually assaulted by a friend of the royals and the Prime Minister? He was nearly a saint, with as much recognised and praised charitable efforts and even a papal knighthood to go with his British one. Despite the fact so many British institutions decided to ignore Savile's crimes, charities, medical facilities, government agencies and media outlets are a few among them. BBC executives were aware that the claims that Savile was bringing minors back to his flat for the night were true as early as 1973. They ultimately chose to believe his denial that he had sex with them. Why? Perhaps as a result of the BBC's then dominant culture, which discouraged challenging talent. Even after his passing, the BBC made the infamous decision to kill the investigative programme for BBC's flagship current affairs programme, Newsnight, which was going to expose the DJ, and instead broadcast a non-stop Christmas tributes to the TV icon. After, viewers of an art exhibition were astonished to find a painting of the recently crowned King Charles wearing a Jim'll Fix It medal. The artist defended his work. The company One Keeps painting shows Charles wearing the medal, referring to the King's former friendship with the infamous paedophile. Visitors to the artist's open house exhibits, who are followers of the arts, expressed their upset over the disrespectful image. The piece's creator defended his work, saying that it is his responsibility to provoke debates. No one is talking about the fact that he, the then Prince Charles, was friends with one of the worst paedophiles in history, claimed Saltdean-based artist Jake Fern, or that Jeffrey Epstein, a known paedophile, was pals with his brother Andrew. Do you think King Charles was aware of his friend's behaviour before he died? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Click here to watch more videos, and thanks for watching.